everyone, and welcome to Tech Talk. I am Jennifer Cooper. I'm the fractional CMO at fOCUS360 and your host. And our very special guest today at Tech Talk is Leah Fellows. She is the founder, and I call her the Chief OSC Trainer Extraordinaire at Blue Gypsy Inc. So welcome, Leah, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk a little tech.
A little tech talk,
A
right?
little tech talk.
And some people in the industry know we have been friends for a while, which made it very easy. It made a very easy ask to have you come on. But we've gone back several years in the industry. We've enjoyed the opportunity to speak at several conferences together over our career. So we've been on stage, and Leah is no stranger to fOCUS360. You've also been a guest blogger for us in the past, and we still have that on our blog if anybody wants to check it out. Some timeless, evergreen information. So I'm so excited again to have you here. We're going to talk today about the role of the online sales counselor and discuss the tools and the skills that make OSCs, they're most successful at their job. We need them to be successful. And their job is to nurture relationships. It's not to sell. So we do need to clarify that at the start, right? And get the title and the role ironed out. But as marketing leaders, our goal is to get people online and really to create what I like to call delightfully sticky experiences. And part of the glue of that stickiness is a great OSC really at the helm of your contact us experiences, buttons, text, chats, all of the things. So that's what I want to dig in with Leah today, especially right now. I feel like as builders, we're going through this post-COVID. We're still like taking off the COVID cape of how did it change our industry? How did it make us look at roles, people, departments, things? So it's kind of a fun topic. But before we dig in, Leah, I'd love to start out with giving us your 2-minute elevator pitch or so, not to really time you, on, how do you help builders? What size of builder do you work with? Why did you name your company Blue Gypsy? Some people know that. Some people don't.
Right. Well, I mean, those are all great questions because, Blue Gypsy Inc. has actually been around for almost 15 years now. In January, it'll be our 15-year anniversary, which is kind of crazy. And for the last 10 of those years, I'm going to go on 11 next year, I have actually been an online sales counselor, trainer, a strategist, a consultant. So I go in and I help builders either who don't have online sales programs figure out how to set it up, how to integrate it in their company between marketing and sales, that sort of thing. And I work with builders I've worked with builders as small as 50 homes a year all the way up to 1,500 a year. So I sort of try to stick with those local and regional builders who are trying to compete against the big boys and help them really create an amazing customer experience. Now, for those builders out there that already have online sales programs, I do a lot of other things for them. I help audit their program. I do website audits to see how their lead generation is. I look at how effective their OSC programs are. And for those that are looking to improve or grow, I can help them recruit and train new people. And I also help on that front end if we have to restructure the program and look at, okay, what was set up? Because to be honest, a lot of builders set up online sales programs during COVID because that was the big boom when everybody said, hey, we don't have this program. We need it, right?
Yeah.
And they maybe weren't set up for optimum results. And the way that we were managing leads back then were not exactly the way traditionally you want to do it and the way that you want to do it now that we're not drinking through that fire hose of leads anymore. So I guess that kind of gives a little bit of background of what I do, but yeah, I mean, anything and everything online sales related, leadership related in the sense of how they lead the online sales program, how we get everybody kind of rowing in the same direction, right? So, and so speaking of rowing, that's on water. Blue Gypsy Inc.'s name comes from the fact that before the building industry. And so Blue Gypsy Inc., like I said, has been 15 years, but I've been in the building industry for 18 years. But before that, I was a backpacker, a dive instructor, and a sailboat captain traveling around the world. And so I did that for 13 years where I was traveling. And so the blue is the ocean, sailing and diving, and the gypsy is obviously the traveling. So
Yeah.
it's just a little bit about me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It fits you. And I
yeah,
love that I do love when there's a story behind the name.
yes,
So thank you for
exactly.
sharing that. To anybody who didn't know, they know a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, not to put you on the spot and say I need a definitive number, but I'm curious what you feel like on average. What do you feel the adoption rate of OSC programs is right now, if you could take a guess? And have you felt like it's been growing? You kind of alluded to that in your last comment, but you really see how much do you feel like it's growing post-COVID?
Well, it's interesting because like I said, I've been in the realm of online sales for 18 years. And when I was an OSC, an actual OSC, I would say less than 10% of builders had an online sales counselor. And I still
Yeah.
think in 2015, 16, 17, when I was training, it was still a hard push to get people to set up online sales programs. And then when COVID hit and we went to everything online, it seemed like that was when it blew up. And so I do a survey every year that you're probably familiar with Melinda Brody and Company, Mystery Shopping Company, and Denim Marketing. And we look up 50 builders. We actually audit 50 builders across the country and what their whether or not they have OSCs and what that program looks like and how we do a 30-day shop. And we have seen it go from about 52% of builders having OSCs in 2020 to it went up to like 80% of builders, and then it
Wow.
came back down to 63%. So we're going to be doing our 2024 mystery shop soon, and we'll see across, the 50 builders, and we use a different set every time, but we'll
Yeah.
see what it's kind of looking like. I think that post COVID, some builders canceled their OSC programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a knee jerk reaction. And pre COVID, some people canceled their OSC programs because they didn't know what was going to happen. And then they realized they needed it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird, the ups and downs and what people don't really understand about how you really need that face of your company where all your leads are coming into that person or that department, or, so that there's a cohesive way leads are managed and qualified and nurtured and then set into qualified strong appointments for the on-site salespeople. So
Yeah. That's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, that number is huge, a huge jump, and it coincides with what my gut was feeling. But then,
Hmm.
isn't it ironic? So, as a marketer, I've been watching what has been the adoption of where do homeowners start their search online? It was 50%. I remember 50% start their search online. Then it was we're at 70. I actually heard at this last conference I was at 2 weeks ago that people are now saying they believe 100% of all home searches are finally starting online. I'm like, we're there, people. We're there.
I've always believed that. I've been saying that for the last couple of years. I remember you
I
reaching
know.
out to me once and saying, "Where did you get that number?" I'm like, "My gut."
I
I
know.
remember I was
But it
like,
was the first time I saw it on slides, and I was like, okay, we're here, like we've
"Well,
arrived.
yeah."
But if that's true, and we believe it's true,
Hmm.
why do we not have 100% adoption of OSCs? Because if people are starting there, that's the handshake, right? Like they're there to say, welcome to my online retail store. How can
Hmm.
I help you? So
Right.
I'm just throwing that out there. If you don't have it, that number, there's something that's missing, it's definitely missing. Now, if you're only selling a few homes, 3 or 4 or 5 homes, maybe you're in a different market, maybe you're custom and you can pick up the phone, but it's
Hmm.
not for the majority of people that are even going to be digesting this TekTalk today for sure. Um, so we know that there are builders out there that are still articulating what an OSC program looks like for their company, their size, their region, all of those things. So how can you help direct or help depict what makes a successful OSC program in general? Like, any thoughts on what makes one successful? If they're trying to
Yeah.
figure out, is my program successful? What does a
Well,
successful program look like?
Well, I mean, obviously the cool thing being that it is pretty digital, it is pretty much, an extension of marketing. And if you're doing it right and you're using the right tools, oh, look, tech, we're talking tech. If you're using the right tools, you can track the progress and track the accountability. There's a lot more accountability in the online sales counselor world than there is in, on-site sales models, unless we're going to set up cameras and somehow count walk-in traffic. We can tell what the lead
Mhm.
generation is like, what the conversions are from a lead to appointment, an appointment to show, a show to a sale to the overall sale.
Yeah.
So, as you're setting the program up, first you need to have your right tools, right? You've got to have a great website generating leads. That's first and foremost before you ever hire a human to deal with it.
Mhm.
You need to make sure you're doing that. And if you're not generating leads, it doesn't mean, oh, I don't need an OSC. It means you need to get with the program and figure out how to make your website work for you, right? So there's that first step, and then having that robust CRM, which is going to be the foundation of everything, where everybody is using it. So that's the other thing about a successful online sales program. It doesn't work if just the
Mhm.
OSCs are doing it. Marketing has to know how to use it and feed into it. On-site sales needs to know how to use it. Leadership needs to know how to look at everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So that a successful OSC program, I always say you can't train in a bubble, right? We can't create a great online sales program and have broken marketing or broken sales. So
Sure.
I don't know if that helps answer that question, but I could talk forever, and I know we're trying to.
Yeah, no, that's a good, I think it's a good framework, right? So I
Mhm,
have an OSC program, and is it successful? Well, part of it you just answered, right? It's not in a bubble. All of these other spokes of the wheel feed into it.
mhm.
And many times someone has to decide, is OSC report to sales or marketing? And at the end of the day, I don't ever really care. There, we could probably arm wrestle that too, right? At the end of the day, I'm like, I just got to make sure I'm communicating, that I just know my OSCs with my builders are at the heartbeat of what I'm doing. They know I contact them weekly, Monday, like, how was last week? Is what we're putting out there as a marketing team reciprocating to you? And then you have to work with sales. And if it's not, why is it not? Is it the offer? Is it the incentive? Is it the pricing? Is it the product? Is it what we built is wrong? We can get that at the very front door. So I think that's a good answer, right?
Well, yeah,
All of
I
those.
think you just hit the nail on the head there, though. That communication, that collaboration has to happen, whether it's a weekly, a biweekly, a monthly meeting. I mean, OSCs can't just keep doing their job and never even have communication with marketing. They can't keep
Yeah.
doing their job and not be checking in with sales or be part of sales meetings and understand. So, whereas who do they report to? I always believe they have one foot in both sides. Whoever they
Mhm.
report to, it doesn't mean they don't talk on the other side.
Yeah,
So,
no,
yeah,
absolutely. It's like
yeah,
we all just have to be on the same team for sure. So I think
exactly.
those are things for anybody questioning, is my program successful, or who will need to be involved? Consider
Mhm,
those departments and that those synergies, because those really will make or break a program, I think, for sure.
mhm,
So when you are helping hire an OSC or mentor an OSC, I have a lot of experience with you in this area. And again, I
mhm,
think it comes from passion and learning,
mhm,
right? You just start to learn when you meet someone if they're going to be right for the role. I think
mhm,
OSC role and warranty are two of the hardest areas to work in. And because we're
mhm,
at both sides of the fence of an undecisive, need to be nurtured and educated buyer versus did I get what I want? Those are two really hard roles. So when you meet someone, um, what traits do you look for that say, wow, they would be really good at an OSC? And on the opposite side, what would make them not great? And this isn't like a personal attack on any type of
mhm,
personality, but there's probably certain
mhm.
traits that make someone good at something in this role, I would imagine.
Very true. And I want to take a step back from that for a minute. When you're trying to find a great OSC for the role, you have to remember, and all too often I've seen builders seeing this as some sort of entry level position to getting into
Mhm.
their company. And it's not an entry level position. It's already someone with strong skill sets, strong sales skills. Yes, even though they're not selling the house, there's still a sales component to it. However, they're different than your typical on-site salesperson. So characteristic wise, they're not needing that in-person interaction. Um, if you're using this as an entry level position and people are coming in and thinking they're going to do this for a little while as a precursor to going out on site, then that's not a good fit. That's not a good fit. If you have somebody that's just going to spend some time, I hear it. I interview so many people, and I hear
Mm.
it going. People are like, I really think this will be a great experience for me to start my real estate journey. I'm like, that's not what I want. I don't want you at the very beginning, like that doesn't help me,
Yeah.
right? For this. When I'm
Yeah.
helping to hire this position for a builder, I want someone that wants to wrap their arms around this role, make it their own. It's somebody with tenacity, someone who is a great speaker on the phone, but also a great writer. They have to be very fast at adapting to different things. You can't
Mhm.
spend hours and hours and hours on one task, like rereading and rereading your email before you send it. You have to be
Yeah.
well spoken and well written. Is that
Mhm.
well spoken to say that? I don't know.
I
But
get it.
yeah, and you have to have a really good sense of organization and work independently. A lot of online sales counselors are perfectionists. And there can be good things about that. On the good side of perfectionism, you're never satisfied and you're constantly trying to improve, so you're not setting it and forgetting it. But the
Mhm.
bad side of perfectionism is you start spinning your wheels and getting into analysis paralysis. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
an OSC is a different kind of person than your on-site salesperson. They are different than your marketer. They are different. They are not a receptionist. They're not your social media manager, right?
Yeah.
They're just, but they have a lot of skill sets that overlap some of those things.
Sure. So
Yeah.
it's not the marketing coordinator slash OSC. I know we agree. We hug deeply on that
No,
topic.
no, no, no. It can't be. It can't
No,
be.
can't be.
So,
No, that's great. I think so, but I will say, like I have seen some people come in really interested, curious about the OSC role. They want to do a good job. And one of my builders right now, someone just made the conversion after a couple of years. He wanted to go to on-site and he's killing it. But I think part of it is that he did just have some of that natural curiosity, those questions and
mhm.
things that he did create some other skill sets. But I agree, don't hire it for that role. But definitely, really, in any of our departments, we have the opportunity for
Mhm.
someone to go, wow, I'd really like to go there. And if it
Mhm.
nurtures and works its way out, great, right? I think that's also always
What
beautiful.
I'm usually looking for is somebody who wants to spend 2 to 5 years in this role, that wants to put down roots in a company, grow the role. Sometimes it means growing the department. Like a lot of people come to me and they say, they're looking for growth. And I ask them, what does growth look like to you? Because if growth to them means immediately going out on site, they're gonna be antsy. They're not gonna want to be in that role. Now, if they do it for a couple years and then that sort of makes sense to move there, that's great. But
Mhm.
if you're trying to backfill this role all the time, it's a
Yeah.
very hard role to learn. People think it's not because they think it's a receptionist. They think it's, easy, but it's a hard role and it's got a ramp up period. And where you are in the first 6 months, in the next 6 months, you're going to be even stronger in the next and the next. And if you can really find someone that they're excited about doing this, then they're going to keep being successful in it for you for years to come. And you're not going to have to keep retraining. And I do think training is important because even very experienced people put in the role in a new company need some foundational training and some structure to the program and some almost like backup to make sure that it's being integrated properly within the company. So I don't care how experienced you are, having a structure to go into and a pathway to learn is really important.
Yeah, for
So.
sure. Those are all really good points. Yeah. So when I'll get to a couple more questions before we finish. So what tools, I am curious, what tools do you find are the most important and successful for OSC conversations and hopefully ultimately converting them to those appointments?
hmm Well, I mean, I do think that obviously all the tools you have on your website are going to be part of the OSC's toolbox, right? Whether it's interactive floor plans, whether it's, your virtual tours, all of that stuff is going to come into play because they're going to utilize that to help a buyer envision what their next steps are. So even if they have or haven't played with them, it's always great for an OSC to do that. But we already talked about the foundational tool of everything is a strong CRM and a well set
Mhm.
up CRM. Another important tool is going to be your phone, your recording program, right? Something that can record your calls. And now, especially with something like CallRail, they're adding more AI components to it where you're getting an entire script of everything that was said. If you pay for the spring for the higher levels, it'll evaluate, it'll bullet point like all the
Mhm.
information for you. Some of it will even create a next steps email for you. So those tools are starting to become more and more prevalent in the online sales world. And just simply even having a recording. So if you missed something or you were on the go, you can re-listen to that call, right?
Yeah.
So I think that some of those tools and some ways to use them will help the OSC communicate better with the buyer, communicate better with the salesperson, anything that can help with that communication, any tool that's gonna work to help with that and to really create. I mean, we
Mhm.
cannot be making spreadsheets and lists and sticky notes
No.
to manage our leads. So, it's
No. And again,
yeah.
marketing has to know how those leads are being communicated with to know what's working and then to start to feed the information to them once we have them in the system. So that's super important. I'm curious if any of your recent or maybe last year's survey, because when do you start to survey your 2024?
We're actually in the process, I think, of doing it right now. I think we've run the
Okay.
data already. I don't know. Ben emailed me today, so I'm not sure. I let him compile all the data and figure it all out. And then,
Well, I'm curious between your survey and just working with folks over this last year, how do you feel that buyers are coming to the table? We believe that buyers are in the self-serve mode. I believe in consumer of all things. I'm researching products, fashion, cars, whatever it is that might be purchasing or researching it. Do you feel like people are coming to the table in these conversations, like having an idea of what they want because they've been researching it?
oh, for sure. I mean, this is the thing is you're probably not even going to get someone to have a conversation with you if you're not providing information so they can
Mhm.
formulate what they want and see what they want beforehand. Definitely. I mean, I think for forever people have been researching and they are researching. You need to give them self-serve tools as far as being able to see the floor plans. Being how I feel about gated content. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely against gated content, and asking for information before people fall in love with what they're seeing. So I think that you need to provide anything and everything to help them imagine where they're going to live. You've got to have area, time frame, price range, all of that stuff needs to be on the website. People still try to hold back pricing on the website thinking, oh, that's going to give them a reason to call. No, that's going
Yeah.
to give them a reason to close the window and move on. So,
Exactly. Yeah. I just
yeah,
had a conversation with a marketing coordinator today about like we have to pay off the experience that we drove them to. We can't
yeah,
take them somewhere and then say, I can't tell you how much or I can't show you anything further. You're gonna have
yeah,
to call first. It's just I don't have time for that. I'll find someone that will, right? So
yeah,
no, that's great. So if you're getting more calls and they're coming in, chances are they've played with the stickiness. And I think the builders that have the most success are those looking at the interactive floor plans and the animations and the things that are saying,
Mhm.
This feels like something I want to be a part of. I could see myself
Mhm.
living for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so I do want to ask, what's missing for OSC's success in your opinion today? Is there any tool or thing or theory or mindset? Like, what's missing? Could be anything, kind of wide
I
open.
I honestly think in so many cases where I see frustration is collaboration is missing. Cross
Okay.
training is missing.
Mm,
And I don't just mean OSCs going and shadowing agents because we can do that all day long, but agents need to shadow OSCs. Leadership people need to know what they're doing. This has almost been sort of like this mystery position where people don't really know what they're doing. And
mm-hmm.
I think that there needs to be some cross training, some collaboration, understanding all of those things. That's what's missing is and a lot of times I come in and I see an improper structure or improper expectations because there's a lack of understanding from the very top of what this role is. So you see them tracking silly stuff like busy work instead of, and micromanaging the task management or something like that. So
Yeah.
I still think here we are in almost 2025, and we're missing an understanding of how the people in this role can perform for our company. I mean, they touch at least 50% or more of our buyers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
there needs to be a value there. And they're the last people to be valued and the first people to be blamed when something is going wrong, unfortunately.
You can say that about marketing too sometimes, but
Well,
well yeah, I would say with OSCs, even in my experience, I love, this is why I also love in-house OSCs, is I like to have them go out and work from a property because all they really need, they need Wi-Fi, right? They need a phone. So go out to
mhm.
that property, and when you're in between calls or emails or things of that nature, and you get to hear and see and taste people coming in and real experiences. One, you get to bond with your salesperson by maybe sharing a space. Two, you may just hear, learn, or absorb something that you didn't before, and that makes them stronger. And you don't see a lot of that. I
Yeah.
usually have to ask and push and prod on that topic, and it's like, get them out and see the product. So, so important.
Yeah, and it's vice versa, right? Because when the agents aren't busy, they may hear the OSCs on the phone and really hear what they do. It's funny, just
Mhm.
real quick, when I was an online sales counselor, I worked in a cubicle in the office, right? For the builder that I worked for. So I was in the cubicle and there was one of the sales the regional sales managers, her cubicle was across from mine. She'd do work. And in the sales
Yeah.
meeting, she would tell the sales agents, "You need to go sit in my cubicle and listen to Leah on the phone." Because then you will hear exactly what she does and how much she's finding out for you guys before the appointment. She's like, it's really impressive. Go sit in my cubicle and listen. So there
Uh,
needs to be some of that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I appreciate all of those things.
yeah.
Well, I will end with one more question, which, AI. AI has been a topic. I feel like
Yeah.
it kind of like pokes at people and it's lost a little bit of its luster to some degree, I think, and how it's paying off for everybody. But I've heard some people say, well, AI is going to replace OSCs. So I'd love to get your answer on that.
Well, it's actually really good because just last month I was doing the Home Builder Digital Marketing Summit, 2-day training on an OSC track, had 15 people in the room that were all online sales. And I asked that question, are you afraid AI is going to take your job? Right? Nobody was, which was really refreshing. Nobody was afraid of that. And I think that it's really important for builders to understand what AI can and can't do and why it's still important to have that human touch. And so I think AI can help enhance the role of the OSC, and we can use AI type tools that will actually help online sales counselors do their job better and faster and take some of the rote repetitive stuff off of their plate and allow them to do the interaction. And I think, long ago I used to say that OSCs, like when chatbots were on the rise, Atlas
Yeah.
RTX and talking to them, I would say chatbots are to OSCs what OSCs were first to to on-site sales, right? It was
Yeah.
something to be there. And I think AI can be that as well. It can help. It can work outside hours if you need it to, figure out how to train that generative AI properly, but it's got to be properly trained because if you could break it
Yeah.
into questions, it's not going to
Yeah.
help. But
Yeah.
you can't really run a 24/7 OSC program. So what are
No.
you going to do on days off? What are you going to do on off hours? What are you going to do when somebody has insomnia and they're shopping at 4 a.m. on your website, right? That's where it's going to come into play to help, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to replace OSCs. I think that those that adopt the technology are going to be much further ahead than those that stick their head in the sand and don't. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think it can be something that will be helpful in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree, but had to ask you. I was just,
Yeah.
curious to ask.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much sums up our time today at Tech Talk. Leah, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I can absolutely tell our audience that I've worked with Leah personally with OSC programs and trainings. I recommend her to anybody out there. And you'll not meet a more passionate OSC dedicated trainer and expert in the industry. So if again, thank you for watching Tech Talk. Do follow our Spotify channel. Do check out our saved library that's saved both on fOCUS360's YouTube and Vimeo channel. And we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you. Bye-bye.